Once again, it's time for the Israel update, and I know it just seems like the same scenario keeps playing. You guys are like the record that just never comes to the end here. What's
Well,
happening?
there are some important lessons to draw from this and things that we can learn from it. But let's step back for a second.
Okay.
I got a number of messages. I usually don't get a lot of correspondence after an Israel update, but it seemed people really liked the amount of statistics that I threw at
Ah,
everybody.
okay.
And the other thing was very interesting. Said, Hanoch, you rarely speak about how Israelis deal with things. Like, what
Hmm.
do Israelis think about? What's an Israeli way of looking at things?
Yeah.
So I thought maybe we would start with that.
Okay.
Um, recently we had a terror attack in Jerusalem,
Hmm.
right at an intersection between Berman's Bakery and going towards the Shuk, Machane Yehuda, the outdoor market. Um, a classic Arab ramming attack. And that's an intersection that I go across minimally 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And when I'm there, like I will be tomorrow with a Tourist Israel all-day Jerusalem walking tour, we literally crossed that intersection approximately the same time that the terror attack happened.
Well.
My daughter Ayala, who you know well, rides whenever she's in the office, not working from home, but working in the office, she rides the bus that goes up Agrippa Street and crosses that intersection. In Israel, that is not considered a close call.
True.
Believe it or not,
True.
that is not considered a close call.
Yeah.
We constantly adapt to things. Now, there was something that happened at that moment when the news of the terror attack occurred. And this is a thing in Israel, not unique to Israel, but it's something we've honed to a fine art. It's called check-in. Ayala and I messaged each other on WhatsApp literally at the exact same time because we both realized that that's an area that we go through
Yeah.
repeatedly. I happened to be coming up from the Dead Sea at the time. She was still in the office. But I thought to myself, when there's a school shooting in America, or, a liquor store is broken into or something, I don't know if people in the county get on their phones right away and saying, hey guys, don't worry, I'm fine. So that's something, kind of unique to
Yeah.
us.
It is.
The other thing is this constant projection of the future. Let me explain. As most of our listeners know, I became a Saba, a grandfather, barely 3 months ago. It's not quite
Mhm.
3 months. And what's great is my daughter Kira is posting pictures of Yoni on this family album. There's nothing on the social media. I
Yeah.
can't even access the pictures and take them and send them anywhere. Anyway, so I'm looking at all these pictures of a barely 3-month-old. And Kira's plan has always been, once they started having children, to return to Israel. Kira
Mhm.
was the first person in the family to go on Aliyah. And all I can think about is in about 6 mine, get his Tzav Rishon. That's prior to being drafted into the army.
Okay. Wait a minute.
And
You cut out there on about
I'm
6 months
sorry.
or something you were saying. Yeah. Try that again.
Okay. I keep looking at those pictures, and he's barely 3 months old. So he's
Mhm.
like this cute. He's a large eggplant, but he's a cute eggplant. Can't even hold up his. Is he three? It's not even 3 months. All I can think about is about 16 and a half years from now, he's going to get what's called his Tzav Rishon. That's the first notice before he is to be drafted into the IDF.
Mhm.
That's when they begin scheduling a series of exams and all kinds of tests to determine what unit that he will wind up going into. Now, in a normal world, people don't look at their little grandkids and think this way. So that's something unique to Israel. Since people like statistics, let me go into a couple of statistics, and then we'll discuss the current situation, what I think is going on and why, and okay. So first of all, Israel is currently at 9.4 million people.
Mm-hmm.
We speak of Little Israel, and the Little Israel of the Yom Kippur War was about 3.5 million people. That was 1973. So we're now at 9.4 million. Our population in the last year alone has gone up 1.6%. Out of the 9.4 million, almost 7 million, or 74%, are Jewish. It's funny, when I mention statistics to some people, particularly on day tours, they're like shocked. And I'm like, guys, y'all are in Israel. What do you, who are you expecting to run into? 21% of them, which is approximately 2 million, are Arabs. And the remaining 5%, about 466,000, are what's called other. That's people who declare other under religion. And those are largely Russian-speaking, non-Jewish people who came in the wave of immigration in the 1990s. They're a whole different kettle of fish. Last year, we as a nation, this is the end of 2021 into 2022, we absorbed 60,000 Olim, new immigrants. And out of that, since most of our audience are Americans, my favorite punching bag, American Jews, 4,000 American Jews immigrated to Israel.
Wow.
Which is the largest number since 1973. Okay. The largest now. On average, 50% of them will be gone within 3 years.
Yeah.
That's the way the statistic works. Now, one thing about immigration in general, and this is sometimes where statistics or a little bit of information is dangerous. Since 1948, I don't know what caused me to look this up, but since 1948, Israel has absorbed 3 million Jewish immigrants. That's a staggering amount of people in 75 years.
Oh, yeah.
Now, 1 million of them came in a 10-year period of time from the former Soviet Union. So that would lead someone to draw the conclusion that Israel, and you hear people talk about this all the time, is a nation of immigrants. Okay, but here's the interesting element to that. Most Israelis, out of the 7 million, most have been born here. So we've absorbed immigrants, have a very high birth rate, and although we consider ourselves a nation of immigrants, they're not people like me who speak Hebrew with an accent.
Yeah.
So that's
they
intriguing.
speak Hebrew with an accent, but it's an Israeli accent. So that's just.
Yeah. So to us, it seems like an accent. Okay, so what's going on? It's no surprise to any. Well, first of all, let's pause for a second. The demonstrations against the government are ongoing.
Okay.
It's now like week 17. And the thing that's intriguing is it's not about this proposed judicial reform, because Netanyahu paused it a number of weeks ago and said that all of the different parties, both in the coalition and the opposition, would discuss it. And they're doing that. So why is it that people are still out demonstrating? It's because they want to overturn the results of the last election. Now, everyone who's ever listened to me knows I'm not a fan of Bibi Netanyahu.
Yeah.
But they are the elected government of Israel. The majority of Israelis voted for the parties in the current ruling coalition. No one is questioning the validity of the votes. This is not America. No one played with it. It was straight out. No one disputes it. But it's the idea that leftists in our country cannot stand the concept, the idea that this can stand. So really, they want to overthrow the government, which is really astounding. However, in all of these demonstrations, what's interesting is the alleged right wing and the alleged left wing are all walking around with Israeli flags. And it shocked me. It really shocked me, because having seen demonstrations in America from way back in the late 60s, people weren't always walking around with American flags, and they're still not.
No.
So, all of the riots that occurred in the last number of years, people weren't walking around. One of the things that's interesting is one of the demonstrations against the proposed judicial reform, they were going to march through Bnei Brak. Why is that significant? Bnei Brak is an ultra-Orthodox city. They were going to incite. And a number of them were expecting trouble, and they were wearing motorcycle helmets. But in Bnei Brak, they were greeted by tables of food and water being given out to them by the Haredim, by the ultra-Orthodox.
Wow.
And they were singing, rather, the music in the background was the song, Shalom Aleichem Aleichem, the Shabbat songs. So people were like, there actually were people crying. So that was really interesting.
Kind of hard to riot in that.
There are a lot of people that are saying whether we need the proposed reform or whether we don't isn't as much of an issue as we need unity.
Yeah.
And now we get into the current situation.
Yeah.
Once the Islamic Jihad terrorist who was on repeated hunger strikes, once he died, it was no surprise at all that they were going to begin launching a series of missiles. However, we in Israel have lost the point of deterrence. We have no deterrence anymore. The Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Iranians in Syria, anyone can fire rockets at us at any time. And yes, you see, we either fire artillery fire or tank fire or send up the Israel Air Force, but there is no deterrence.
Yeah.
In fact, the Iron Dome was only approximately 67% effective yesterday. We did have people wounded in Sderot. Oh, by the way, there are a number of our listeners, wonderful people, who every time a rocket goes off in Israel, sends me a very panicked note, "Are you okay?" Let me explain something. I live in Modi'in. It's the center of our country.
Yeah.
I do not live near Sderot. I do not live near the Gaza border. When rockets rain down, as they did in May of 2021, we get them here. Between now and then, don't worry about it, although that day will come again soon.
Yeah.
It is very concerning to us that Iran has gotten so successful at attacking us by proxy. Because even the idea we get missiles from Lebanon and Hezbollah says, hey, wasn't us. It's Hamas in Lebanon. Rockets come from Gaza. Hamas says, hey, it's not us. It's the quote unquote Palestinian Islamic Jihad.
I guess the thought, Hanok, that the Iron Dome only pulled 67% this time, that's a telling statistic of where this thing's going. Now, I want to also go to people that are on, sign up for the Connect Israel tour. Um, what is going on in Israel regarding rockets coming out of Gaza does in no way affect our tours. Those
Not
that's
only that, the rockets stopped last night.
yeah,
People seem to think this is like a daily
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
It's
No,
not.
no, it's not. It's not. But you know, here's the crazy thing. In the United States now, we got this whole thing of title whatever that's coming up in the next few days, and the fact that you cannot seal the border of a sovereign nation. Totally stupid that a government with a military like the United States cannot seal a border is ridiculous. To me, the same thing that Israel, with all the intelligence, with all the technology, cannot keep rockets from getting into the Gaza Strip. That's just beyond me. I mean,
The
how
Iron
do they get
Dome,
there?
the Iron Dome is the best anti-missile system in the world,
Yeah,
and it's far from perfect.
yeah,
It is far from perfect. Now, what Israel keeps doing, and this is the same thing when we were hit from Lebanon recently, is Israel responds, but in a way that we hope that it'll go away.
hmm,
Like you punch me really hard, and I punch you back, and then I step back, and I kind of hope that you'll turn around and walk away, and then I'll turn around and walk
yeah,
away.
yeah,
This is we have no policy, we have no vision, and Netanyahu has made a career out of being Mr. Security. And what's astounding is I have never seen such a consummate politician as he is make one mistake after the
hmm,
other.
yeah,
There is no game plan. Like people say to me, so how is Israel going to handle it? Or, and everyone was focused on what Ben Gvir, our, national security minister, what he's going to do or not do.
yeah,
He's not the issue. Netanyahu is the puppet master.
yeah,
But it's kind of like, I don't know if he's distracted. Now, meanwhile, he's got his Haredi, his ultra-Orthodox allies that are pulling at him. He's got his right-wing religious allies that are pulling in the other direction. And he himself has no vision other than sitting on the throne.
hmm,
This is like the Israeli version of Game of Thrones.
yeah.
I don't know who has the dragons, though. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, is there's no answer. Yeah, your analogy of you punch somebody, they punch you back and forth, and kind of stand there. At some point, you got to look at the person and say, okay, I'm about to cut your hand off, but
Well, see,
there's
that's the thing. Israel cannot do what the Russians did in Chechnya
yeah.
years ago and what they're doing in Ukraine. Israel cannot do what the Americans did in Iraq and what they did in Afghanistan.
Oh no, no.
We've got the eyes of the world, you know, laser focused on us. And every time a soldier burps in front of an Arab, it's like, this major we've got to get our acts together,
Yeah.
which means since Iran has stepped things up and gotten really good at fighting us simultaneously on multiple, now, in just a few weeks, we will have Jerusalem Day.
Oh,
That is the anniversary
my
of the
favorite.
reunification of Jerusalem. That is the day in May of 2021 that Hamas began firing rockets because of Israel's alleged provocations on the Temple Mount by walking around with an Israeli flag in Jerusalem. And, it's people who know me well, get a kick out of like when I wear the shirt that says, when the time comes, there will not be enough people left to bury the dead. And people say, like, like, you think you've kind of like aged out of those clothes? And the answer is absolutely not. we're going to reach a point where we're going to need to do truly what we need to do. And
Yeah.
I want to make it clear that when I'm talking about this, or the potential, and in Israel, and you know this, Mike, you and I have spoken about this many times, many of our listeners may not know this. In Israel, we never speak about if there'll be another war.
Mhm.
We always speak about when the next war comes.
Yeah.
And the next war is likely to be very complicated, in that we'll be hit with missiles from all sides. The Arabs, the Israeli Arabs in the so-called mixed cities will riot. There'll be all kinds of stuff going on the Temple Mount. And we're literally, we can see this coming. And the question is, what will all of those who care for Israel and love Israel, our listeners, among the best and the brightest, what will they do? How will they up their game? Now, what I don't want to hear is the bluff arrogance, the rhetoric of like, yeah, let them do it. Yeah, we'll show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no will here. There's no we will.
Oh
It's
yeah.
us.
I mean, you and I have watched this happen when it's easy to send somebody else's dog into a fight.
You know, when people rail at me on Facebook, you should go down and tear down. First of all, they refer to the Dome of the Rock as a mosque, and it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
But okay, you should tear down the golden pipple.
Yeah.
I think that's great. That's great. Really. And I'm glad that there's someone sitting in Pocatello, Idaho, cheering us on. That makes me feel good,
Mm.
because I remember back in May of 2021 when we were hit with 4,500 rockets and missiles in 11 days. I didn't hear. I heard crickets.
Yeah. I know. I
Anyway,
think that the problem is, Hanok, that a lot of people, I mean, including myself, okay, when things like this happen, what do I do? Okay, I can pray Psalm 122, pray for the peace of Yerushalayim. Um,
yes,
it's like at least for me, when I sit there and like last night or the night before, sitting there in my nice recliner, and all of a sudden red alert goes off, and Kathy says, "Who's being hit?" And so we start looking at it, and it comes up and comes up. And they've installed a new thing on Red Alert now, the app, and it says continue or mute for, it says mute for now. And
yeah.
I look at that and I think, I wish I could actually, I wish that button would actually do something. I haven't figured out the button that actually does something. I can mute it for me,
But you
but
know
I
what it
can't
is?
mute it for you.
It's a chance for us to all recommit to doing that much more.
Yeah.
And maybe it means when we want to commemorate a family member's what we call yahrzeit, the anniversary of their passing, go back to the classic thing that the Jewish community has always done: plant a tree in
Plant a
Israel.
tree.
This is, we all know a lot of people in Hayovel.
Oh yeah.
These guys are ready, willing, and able. All it takes is a couple of dollars.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a fortune.
And
And
if anybody wanted to do that, to plant a tree in Israel, I know there is an Israeli fund. There's websites there.
yes,
I personally would trust Hayavel.
agreed.
I know what they're
Agreed.
doing. I've seen it firsthand, and I know the integrity of the men and women that are there. That money
Without
is
a
going to
question.
go. That tree's
Absolutely.
planting.
And that's a little thing.
Yeah.
That's a little thing. And I had said, I believe it was last time and perhaps the time before that, over the next few weeks to months, we'll be sharing lots of different ideas of things that people can do and how they can multiply
Yeah.
their personal influence. And part of it is a matter of sharing things, whether you share it on Facebook or whether you print out an article and hand it to somebody, or, like people of family members, or they belong to churches that at least verbally support Israel and say, guys, I'm raising whatever it is, $350 to plant whatever, 6
Yeah.
trees.
Yeah.
I'm putting in the first 40. What are you guys going to do?
I mean, here's a very simple one. Okay, this takes no funding, takes very little time. We post the Israel update, goes on to my Vimeo site, onto YouTube, and then it's posted to my Facebook and to your Facebook. Share it.
Yeah,
Share it.
great
I
idea.
mean, that can multiply. If everyone that's
Great idea.
listening to this broadcast today, if you got it up on Facebook, if you saw the link on Facebook and you click share, what you have done is multiplied. People can multiply our outreach just by hitting that. So it
Agreed.
takes the same amount of time, almost the same amount of time, to hit like as it does to hit share.
For whatever reason, people kind of mentally shut down, and it's almost like watching a train wreck about to happen. And instead of doing whatever you can, you're caught up in the experience as the viewer. Stop viewing, and there's a lot of information that both you and I share. Why don't more people share it?
Well, I guess to take my a little bit more, slightly more optimistic view, I think many people just don't think about it. Okay.
Well, that's
They,
why a reminder is
yeah,
good.
yeah. They don't think that they have any influence. Well, look, if you have 100 people following you on Facebook, that's 100 people that have said that they desire to have you influence them by what you post.
Agreed.
So go ahead and use it.
Agreed.
I mean, you never know where that might go. Years ago,
Absolutely.
Ephraim Frank, a mutual friend of ours, hosted a group of people going around doing a little tour up on the mountains of Samaria.
Yeah.
And on that tour bus was a guy named Tommy Waller, and that is Hayavel today.
Yeah.
But Ephraim Frank is the one that was the connector with Nir Levi, and out of that came Hayavel. People don't understand what influence they may have.
Yeah.
And it may not be, it was the old book. Did you ever read the book, The Tipping Point?
I don't think so.
Somebody gave it to me, and it was talking about the influence and where the tipping point of influence becomes something that starts to grow exponentially. And the most important people in there were not the influencers, it was the connectors.
Love it.
Those people were the ones that made it all happen. So I just want to challenge people this week. Be a connector. Start sharing things. Just put it out there. Is everybody going to like it? No. You're probably going to get some, a couple of bad posts. Okay, whatever. But it may be that you find that one person that is an influencer that can do something. And, it may be that you're the one that's being led to find the next Tommy Waller or whoever.
You never know.
Yeah.
Always a possibility.
All right. Well, you got another tour tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Mr. Dead Sea?
No, all day Jerusalem.
Oh, Jerusalem. Okay. Well, it's getting a little late in the year to be down at the Dead Sea anyway.
It was a little warm there today,
Oh, yeah.
but it's nothing like, I mean, there are years I've guided there between 104 and 114 degrees.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been at Masada when it was in excess of 110. That's not
Yeah,
fun.
not at all.
Not at all. Okay. Well,
So, I'll be staying in cooler climates. That'll be when I'll be in Louisiana and Florida, North Carolina. Yeah.
there you go. Okay. Yeah,
All
that
right,
is
Mike.
coming up. All
Yep.
right, man. We'll take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.